Hello Pokemon trainers, this is GatorX and today I'll be talking about Amiibo. Before I begin, I just want to remind you to check out my last video for my greatest Pokemon theory I've done so far. Now, Pokemon is one of Nintendo's most well-known franchises, alongside Mario and Zelda. So with each of these others receiving Amiibo of their own outside of Super Smash Bros., why not Pokemon? These could possibly be used for a future spin-off game for the Nintendo Switch or be used in the main series game should they decide to implement Amiibo functionality. So today I'll be counting down my personal top 5 choices for Pokemon that should become Amiibo. I will be grouping some Pokemon into one spot since I feel their Amiibo release could hypothetically coincide, so there will be quite a few more than just 5. With that established, let's begin with number 5. Think about this, what's the first thing you see of a Pokemon game? The legendary duos on the box, of course. Now, in terms of choosing a specific duo, here are some possibilities. There is a chance that some kind of game later this year, like a Generation 7 spin-off, could utilize Amiibo support and thus warrant the release of a Solgaleo and Lunala Amiibo. There have been some similar merchandise since the release of Sun and Moon, but Amiibo quality Solgaleo and Lunala would look much better. Another choice for a legendary duo could be Palkia and Dialga. With all the hype around potential Diamond and Pearl remakes, the idea of Amiibo sounds really cool. If the remakes really do come out soon, this would be a great way to promote them. Being from games that originally came out 10 years ago, there hasn't been much love for Palkia and Dialga, and any figurines or plushes would be difficult to find by now. I personally think Palkia and Dialga aren't the best looking of all legendary duos, but if they were to come out, I'd try my hardest to get my hands on them. Number 4. Cute Generation 1 Pokemon are some of the most iconic and recognizable Pokemon that often dominate merchandise. With Pikachu and Jigglypuff already being Amiibo, Eevee is a Pokemon that could fit right in. If you remember the Pokemon Rumble game for Wii U, you'll know that there was an Eevee figurine produced for the game. Aside from being kind of blocky, it does give us a good idea of what an Eevee Amiibo would look like. People love Eevee, and it ends up staying relevant most every generation, as it gets a new evolution every so often. Speaking of which, all of the evolutions would make great Amiibo, and it would sell almost instantly. It is only wishful thinking, and I honestly couldn't imagine what a release would look like for that. I personally don't think evolutions are possible, but just the basic Eevee itself could potentially work out. Number 3. In the same vein as Eevee, cute recognizable Pokemon might be the way to go. Why not also add in some more love for Generation 7 while it's still fresh? Mimikyu would be the perfect Pokemon for this. Mimikyu is the unexpected star of Sun and Moon. People just can't get enough of it, and also it being a pretty good Pokemon competitive-wise helps out. Like I mentioned before, it could easily work as a tie-in for a follow-up Generation 7 game or a spin-off should they decide to introduce Amiibo capabilities. Mimikyu would look good next to a Pikachu Amiibo as well, just as long as you don't confuse the two. Number 2. Charizard is cool, and while I don't think it's overrated like some people, I will admit it gets a lot of love. Like, a lot. Blastoise and Venusaur sometimes seem to get forgotten. Now, I know that Charizard got an Amiibo because he was a character in Super Smash Bros., but he just looks so lonely without the other starters. If we end up getting another spin-off game later this year, all 3 Kanto starters might be something cool to introduce alongside them, especially if it ends up being a game that pays homage to the first generation. It'd even be cool if we could get Mega Evolution Amiibo for each of these. Now that's a little more of a stretch, but I do think that Blastoise and Venusaur should get Amiibo to complete the set. Number 1. In my opinion, it was a real missed opportunity to not make some physical Amiibo for Pokmon Tournament. I know that it's originally an arcade game, so it probably wasn't the first thought, but they did include an Amiibo card for the console release. It was basically just an extra character if you bought a physical copy, but it does show that they at least thought about Amiibo to some degree. You could definitely have implemented Amiibo the same way that Super Smash Bros. Did, by storing data for a character. I do realize that these would have been a lot of Amiibo for a game that really hadn't proven itself, and I get why they didn't make them. But they would have looked so cool, and most every Pokemon in the game is iconic and loved. Machamp, Gardevoir, Suicune, Garchomp. These would have been some of the most sought after Amiibo. Charizard, Lucario, and Pikachu already had Amiibo made for Smash Bros, so their job would have already been partially done. Again, it is a lot of Pokemon to take up just one spot, but I genuinely think these deserve to become Amiibo someday. Anyway, that's been it for this top 5 / top maybe 20 or so, but anyway, let me know what you think down in the comments below. Do you think that these Pokemon should become Amiibo? Do you have any other in mind that would make better Amiibo? Go ahead and leave a comment and we can continue the discussion. Also remember to leave a like and subscribe if you enjoyed the content. You can also enable notifications by clicking the bell icon next to the subscribe button. This will make sure you see each new video as it comes out and make you a member of the Chingling Squad. Anyway, this has been GatorX. Have a nice day.